Let's go! Jalen Brown commits to LSU. Are you freaking kidding me? The first five-star wide receiver from out of state since Terrence Tolliver all the way back in 2008. So comment down below, is this LSU's best pickup of the cycle thus far? Because honestly, there's a lot of you that think one of those defensive linemen that LSU's brought in will be the next great one. So look, some of you might not think too highly of Jalen Brown. There is another five-star receiver that LSU is currently after. We're going to talk about him in just a second. So the first thing is the actual recruitment of Jalen Brown is probably the most impressive thing in that he is in Miami's backyard. Miami is probably one of the hottest recruiting schools right now with Mario Cristobal doing what he's done there. Just a complete 180-degree turn from where the program was a year before. And the bottom line for me is the fact that LSU won this recruiting battle versus the Hurricanes is really, really, really impressive. You know, Jalen Brown has visited LSU. This has always been a thing that he's interested in joining the Tigers. And look, this is a Cortez Hankton special. The wide receiver coach, of course, who was originally from South Louisiana, went to Georgia, won a national championship, and is now getting to coach in his home state of Louisiana. So this is by far his best commitment. He also brought in Kyle Parker a few weeks ago. So look, Jalen Brown, you look at him as far as a prospect. Yes, he's a smaller wide receiver, around 6 foot, 170. Some people have him at 160. Jalen Brown himself has himself as 180 pounds. So once again, as far as Jalen Brown's actual commitment is concerned, it's pretty big. It's funny. I think of one NFL comp all the way down to Jalen Brown's recruiting ranking that just makes absolute perfect sense. And you see him making an amazing, jump ball catch right here and cutting back and taking it to the house. But that comp is Deshaun Jackson, all the way down almost to their five-star composite recruiting ranking. So, yes, you see a lot of D-Jacks in Jalen Brown. He makes things look very easy. And, yes, he is a smaller wide receiver. D-Jacks coming out was 5'11", 175 as well. But that doesn't mean that they can't play on the outside and make catches in traffic and just overall stretch defenses. And, I've said this a few times in scouting Jalen Brown. That is the number one trait a wide receiver can have, is the ability to get behind a safety and make a play. Now, is there going to be a transition? There always is, right? If you're going from high school football, especially as a lighter player, to college football where you're going to get jammed and you're going to get a lot of physical defensive backs that will be facing you, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a transition. Also, most of Jalen Brown's highlights are him running nines, such as this right here. Just go route, go route, go route, a post in there. But the truth is, that is the most optimal route to run in football if you can do it every single time. And if you don't give safety help over the top and you're a high school defensive back, guess what? You should throw it and only run goes every single time. And you do see in 7-on-7s and other footage that Jalen Brown has a more diverse route tree than just nines and deep routes, right? Once again, here we go in the background. If you're going to press him, you should run goes every single time. So, that's something that a college coach can work with you with to grow your intermediate game, but I don't think that's going to be that big of a leap in that aspect either. So really excited about this one. As you can see, that LSU brings in a five-star wide receiver. This is huge, especially considering they only brought in one wide receiver in this last cycle in Landon Ibieta. And overall, it does help. And let's just say LSU didn't land Jalen Brown. It does help that LSU's wide receiver room is really young. You have 2 more years of Jack Bech and Malik Neighbors locked in. We'll see what happens with Brian Thomas Jr. and Chris Hilton over these next couple years. Yes, the wide receiver room is very young, and obviously still you need to replenish the depth there, and we'll see what happens to Landy Ibieta and the rest of that room. Now, there is another wide receiver target that LSU is after, and that, of course, is Shelton Sampson Jr., and To me, I like him a little bit more as a prospect compared to Jalen Brown. Maybe that is just some Louisiana bias for me. They're rated pretty much the same on all recruiting services, but they would complement each other really well. Obviously, Shelton Sampson's size is what stands out to you at 6'3", 6'4" on some metrics. So yes, that would be perfect for those two to pair with each other. And normally you think of the taller receiver as the better outside receiver and the smaller receiver as the slot. I am not sure if Jalen Brown is a slot receiver. I know we think shorter receiver, he's going to play the slot. I do think he'll still be able to play the outside in college because, once again, that is exactly what Deshaun Jackson did. So, once again, that is a really lofty praise to compare him to a guy that's been so good in the NFL for so long. But they legit remind me of each other, and let's hope LSU gets that level of production as well. So, you see the productive junior stats. He just dominates, and you just gotta love it. Let's go. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you, okay? So, let's talk about 2023 quarterback recruiting just for a second. And what I want to do is play these highlights of Walker Howard against Neville last year before I start talking about Dante Moore and his commitment to Oregon. Now, my guy Blake, our surprise guest yesterday on our live stream, we had such a great time with him. We talked about this game right here, which to me was one of the most legendary quarterback performances I can remember when it comes to any LSU quarterback prospect. So just a reminder how freaking good Walker Howard was. He was leading a 1-2 football team against that Neville team, which had, I believe, 6 Power 5 Division I players on it, and St. Thomas More had 0, I believe, outside of Walker Howard, who, by the way, that was only his 4th game as a starter without his 2 best receivers from the year before, both of which are on LSU's team right now. And all Walker Howard did as a senior was overcome a gruesome leg injury just to fight his way back to lead a team that struggled mightily on defense to another deep playoff run. So the one thing I really like about Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier is both of these guys are really locked in on playing at LSU. You could tell being at LSU means a lot to both of them because of their Louisiana ties. And there is a high likelihood that both of them don't play this year. Now, of course, Nussmeier has a way better shot of playing than that of Walker Howard, but there is a somewhat high likelihood that neither one of them actually see the field. And if that's the case, both of them will be fighting for the quarterback job going into next year. So if you're a top quarterback, do you really want to join a quarterback room that is led by 2 people that is beloved in that LSU building that are also top 100 quarterbacks in their own right? And the answer to that is probably not. So, as far as Dante Moore's recruitment, we shared this on live streams. I just don't think he wanted to compete in a very difficult quarterback room. And also at Oregon, you have a clear shot to starting, and I'm sure that there was some name, image, and likeness involved in Dante Moore's decision. So, yes, it does suck that you lose out on a 5-star out-of-state quarterback. That would have been LSU's first since Russell Shepard. But for me, I still think LSU's quarterback room is fine. Now, do they absolutely, positively need to land a 2023 quarterback? Maybe so, but once again, because the room is so loaded, the likelihood of you getting somebody is very small. And that doesn't mean LSU has quit recruiting quarterbacks for 2023. They really went after Dante Moore hard, but the young man decided to go to Oregon, and I wish him nothing but the best. It's better that he went there instead of Texas A&M, where he would have been surrounded by all that 5-star talent. So, yes, a minor win that Dante Moore decided to go somewhere else. And we'll see what happens with the future with Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier. But this has been the number one question I've gotten over the past couple of weeks outside of, the national recruiting framework. when it comes to quarterbacks, is there anybody that is 4-star or better that LSU could bring in at this point? And the answer to that is no. All the 5-star quarterbacks right now are committed, and now that leaves us with very few options. I do think one thing is really interesting, and I was on Hunting Hill with Mario and Jay Hill. Shout out to them on 104.5. I do find Eli Holstein to be a very interesting name. Now, it is very unlikely that he goes from Texas A&M, and now he's committed to Alabama, and now he would have to decommit and then go to LSU. And, of course, the backstory with Eli Holstein and Walker Howard, that Eli Holstein left St. Thomas More this high school to go be at Zachary, where he had a chance to play. I don't think Eli Holstein would come to LSU, but I do find it interesting that Dylan Lonergan, a high-level 4-star quarterback, is trending towards picking Alabama. And for the longest, this young man was a South Carolina lean. And now he is trending towards Bama. Does Eli Holstein stay in a Alabama class with Dylan Lonergan now committed, and the fact that Alabama's quarterback room is arguably more loaded than LSU's quarterback room with Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson there, and now Dylan Lonergan as well? If Dylan actually commits to Alabama, there's no way Eli Holstein would stay in that room, right? So he would decommit, and he would have a long list of suitors as well. I know. Does Texas A&M take him back? I don't know, because A&M doesn't have a quarterback committed. So then you get to Ricky Collins, who's committed to Purdue, of course, in your own background at Woodlawn. And by the way, this is a defensive tackle at Auburn, destroying Walker Howard when he delivered this football right on the money. So, yes, man, I would like LSU to get a quarterback for 2023. Just to have one on the roster. Let's just say Walker Howard beats out Nuss next year. Nuss is packing his bags and going elsewhere. So you would have to get a quarterback out of the portal, or you would have to, I don't know what you would do. There's so many different factors at this position. So, I don't know. I don't know. But as far as the 2023 quarterback picture is concerned, it's very complicated because of the Walker Howard, Garrett Nussmeier room. And let's just say LSU doesn't land one, it is not the end of the world either. So it's a good problem to have Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier in your room, but it is very interesting to see what the future holds for this position in this class. Now, this is kind of interesting. There is a player that is trending towards LSU, and he is announcing his commitment within the next 24 hours, and we're not talking a whole lot about him. Boom! Taker.
You don't even have the lens on.
I'm not using the lens. I'm using this lens. Whit Weeks committing tomorrow. The younger brother, of course, of Wes Weeks, a linebacker that is currently on LSU's roster. It is interesting. Shout out to Bruce. We talked about the younger brother thing, right? Like, some younger brothers that have gone to LSU have turned out to be really good players, obviously Justin Jefferson, and some haven't. I've always found that to be a fascinating dynamic. I don't know if I would be interested to know if someone did a national trend search to see if older brothers or younger brothers turn out to be better players. But anyway, Wes Weeks is going to announce, and as you see, according to the recruiting prediction machine, LSU, according to On3, seems to be in the lead for Weeks. Yes, he is a 3-star. He's not a highly ranked national prospect whatsoever. But then again, Georgia and Oklahoma were his other 2 finalists. So you have Georgia. I know that's a home state school, but it's still Georgia. They can get any linebacker that they want throughout the country. And Oklahoma, Brent Venables, arguably the best linebacker developer in the country. I think to LSU would be very nice, because right now LSU doesn't have any off-ball linebackers committed for 2023. Once again, shout out Are You Serious Sports for jumping on my channel. Shout out to Mario and Jay Hill for having me on 104.5. And yeah, live streams. You know the schedule. Let's go. It is our LSU. Boom! Shout out to the new patron, Danny Girl. You know you want to join the Patreon. Link is below. Floating in your face right now. We have our running back week playlist if you want to check it out. And tonight, some pasta. Let's go.